So today I want to talk about these. I'm not doing an unboxing video. That's not what I'm doing. And I'm not showing off the new iPhone. But I want to talk about smartphones in general. Okay? And how detrimental they have become to our development as a species. And in particular, to how dangerous they have become to our youth. So I have unfortunately seen through my own family experience both a 7-year old and a 14-year-old be exposed to technology such as these quite early. And I'm noticing the impacts that it's having on their development. So I have two sisters, one who is 7 and the other who is 14. And as you could imagine, the 14-year-old is in high school. So she, of course, has an iPad, she has an iPhone, and the 7-year-old obviously doesn't have those things, but is growing up seeing the 14-year-old using things like this. Thus, in turn, her already wanting to have one of these. And what scares me the most is how dependent they have become in their lives. I'm talking about smartphones and other technologies. It's becoming so dependent. And as I'm watching the 14-year-old become addicted to her iPhone and the type of life that she's saying she wants to live, I can't just stand by and not say anything anymore. And I'm torn because when I was a kid, I thought these were the coolest things ever. I grew up with the original launch of the iPhone, with Facebook and Instagram going mobile and Twitter. And I remember thinking this was so wicked. But it was so small scale then. Like the App Store didn't even launch until 2008, 2009, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, it's not that long ago. And I'm looking at how kids today are growing up needing a smartphone. And I hate to sound old, but it's like when I was growing up, business people like my parents had things like Blackberries. And if you remember back in the early days, those were pretty damn cool. Like those things could surf the web and have email and had some games on it. And I remember, was it the BlackBerry Fire? Anyway, I digress. I don't want to get too much into the technology side of things, but my first phone was a flip phone. It could text. I had snakes on there, and that was it. And when I came home, the family computer was in the corner. I shared it with my brothers. We had MSN. We had MySpace. We had, Facebook wasn't even around yet, and that was it. We all had limits, but now kids have access to that computer all the time, constantly. And there's been enough scientific studies and evidence that are supporting that social media use and using things like iPhones or Androids or what have you are impacting the development of their brains and how the overall chemistry and how it's just putting two and two together. And we're living in a world where we're not encouraging creativity in the sense of, go out there and make something of your life. It's go out there and become something online. Start a TikTok, start an Instagram. And I'm watching my 14-year-old sister who has not only bypassed parental controls, bypassed internet configuration settings that the internet is blocked on her device at a certain hour. She literally has mental breakdowns now because she doesn't have access to it. And when you look at how much time she's spending on it, and I'm talking about, from what I've seen, 9-10 hours a day. And I know that some people will be like, it's the parents. The parents need to control it. Yes, I agree 100%. Yet that has been tried and it has not worked because kids will find a way. It's like when you were younger, if your parents said no, you're like, you're going to find a way to get out of it, And I'm seeing my 7-year-old sister already talking about Snapchat and Messenger. But not only that, she watches Netflix and she'll have like cartoon characters. Well, the cartoon characters are like elementary kids and they have smartphones and so it's being pushed so much in their face all the time that they don't even know what life is without it. And this is why I'm so concerned with the direction that the way the world is going, and this constant need to be on your phone all the time. There have been studies that have shown that social media use and cell phones, especially doom scrolling, the effects that it has on our brain chemistry is no different than that of drug use. And the brain cannot discern between drugs and smartphone use. Dopamine is dopamine. And we're living in a world now where ADHD is on the rise. Kids are showing so much more lack of respect towards parental figures and teachers because they're seeing stupidity online and they think that it's funny. They think it's justified. And I have this 14-year-old sister who believes that school, believe it or not, is slavery. She thinks that she's being held against her will, that it will lead her to nothing, and that she says she's going to live a life as a social media influencer. And I'm flabbergasted. Not only that, she also has been using ChatGPT as if it's her friend. She talks to it as if it's her best friend. And recently, her parents found that she essentially asked ChatGPT at 14 how she could make money by selling feet pictures online. I'm not even kidding. And when you see something like this, you have to ask yourself, how do you respond to that? How do you teach? Where do you go from here? Now, I'm not the parent. I have no control over that. But when I see shit like that, it makes me so worried about what the world will be like in 50. These are going to be the next generation. And we're looking at the way the world is right now, and it is a mess. And I don't suspect that it's going to get any better. But the reason why I'm making this video is because we need to be held accountable to make changes. I believe that laws need to start being implemented to some degree where social media use is limited to a certain age, like warning labels on cigarettes. And I might get a lot of hate for that. But kids need to continue to be kids. Kids, you're only a kid once. And I'm seeing this world of hustle culture and social media content creation and consumption and consumption and consumption. It's media consumption. And there's no more imagination. It's just, how can I be like this person? And I don't agree with it. I think that the world is severely going in the wrong direction, and it needs a course correction. And I'm noticing that, we're also living in a world where people are becoming so dependent, at least my generation, on trying to become content creators in order to generate income, or at least extra income. And it's becoming the norm to have a side hustle and to have, a TikTok and monetizations. But what do you think that's doing to the younger generations? where kids can't even be kids anymore. And they're already thinking at 13 years old, how to become social media influencers and being on the grind. I remember what life was like when I was 10 years old. I don't even want to know what it's like to be a 10-year-old in today's world. This world's mad. Mad. And, I've had this conversation with people that, when we're talking about the idea of having kids, and I simply cannot imagine bringing a child into this world. And it goes against every kind of idea that I've had since growing up about getting married and having children and having all these wonderful memories, because there's there is that piece of me that wants that. But when I see, and I know people might come on here and be like, well, social media isn't all that bad. Okay, there are some instances where social media can help in a lot of ways to have someone become noticed or start a business or what have you. But everything in moderation. How kids, if you give too much Pepsi or Coke or what have you, or Coca-Cola, just correction here, or candy to a kid, a lot of the times kids will just eat and eat and eat and eat and eat until they throw up. So how is that any different with social media? They don't know how to self-regulate. They don't know how to handle the bombardment of information that they're seeing online. They don't know what's real or what's fake. They can consume bullshit day after day and think that it's reality, creating more disillusion in the world. And then they go to school, and then they share this with other people. And, I've seen even from other folks that I know, they're like, well, hey, I limit it. But the problem is they go to school and they have access to social media and cell phones from other people. Yeah, that's because we're not in a collective. We're not all parenting the same ways. And this is why I think there needs to be some sort of regulation or control that's put into place. Otherwise, it's just, this is exactly what's going to happen. It's going to become the forbidden fruit. And it's weird because I grew up loving technology. And there's a part of me that loves when a new iPhone comes out every year. It's exciting to see what is being created. But even Apple and all these other companies like Samsung and Google, they know what they're doing. They're feeding on the influencers. They're doing the marketing for them. That gets pushed out to kids and other people, and the colors and all that. It's wild. I remember when the first the iPod Touch came out. I didn't have an iPhone yet, and I thought it was the coolest thing in the world. It wasn't an iPhone, but it had everything. As long as I had Wi-Fi at home, I had my music, I had my internet, and I had my apps. And that was awesome. But that was it. I didn't bring it to school and was constantly doom scrolling. Whereas now they have that in their pockets day in and day out. There's no smartphone that's made for kids or teenagers. There's just one universal phone, and that's it. And companies like Apple, they'll be like, well, you can buy our base model 17 with a bunch of colors. That's for kids. That's fine. And the 17, Pro Maxes, those are for adults. Those are for professionals. At the end of the day, it's the same thing. It's the same thing. I take this this topic very seriously because I see what's wrong with the world. I see a lot of people, even my age, suffering from depression, anxiety, from doom scrolling, from comparing themselves to feeling like they're not enough. I felt that way, feeling like we need to have more than one job in order to get by, in order to feel adequate in this world. Imagine adults feeling that way. What kids who don't even understand themselves yet must be experiencing when they're consuming and seeing this kind of stuff online. It's scary stuff, but I don't think it's anything that we should ignore any further. But look, I digress. This channel, this video, it's just to be able to connect as a community, to share our thoughts, our opinions, and to come together. There's no right answer. There's no wrong answer. It's just discussion. So with that being said, if you found this video informative, please consider subscribing to the channel, leaving a like, but more importantly, I want to hear from you. Leave a comment down below what you think of the world today. And what would you do to change it? You look at Matthew McConaughey, for example, a very well-known actor. His son, I think, turned 18, and he finally said, hey, look, I'm allowing you to have social media. Is this what you want now? His son decided to do it, but now he's at the age to understand it. He's able to understand himself a little bit better and be able to discern if whether or not this is something he wants to use for himself now and in the future. So I'm going to leave this with you. I would love to hear from you what you think about this subject. And yeah, thanks for stopping by. Thanks for checking out this video. And by the way, I would love to hear from you as well in regard to anything that you would love for me to cover on this channel. This is a channel where I talk about multiple different things, and I would be very open to suggestions moving forward. So that being said, thank you again. All the best. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one.